the Biden White House marking Transgender Day of Visibility on Easter Sunday, setting off a firestorm of criticism. This year, Trans Visibility Day coincided with Easter, the holiest day on the Christian calendar, Resurrection Sunday. And while this isn't the first time President Biden and the White House have marked the transgender holiday, it was their most substantive on social media. It's the latest example of what is being described as faith under fire in America. Harris, many are arguing that, to that point, that there's been a, quote, faith under fire movement for quite some time, that ebbing and flowing, sometimes more flagrant than others, but many Christian Americans feel they've been persecuted, and it's been out in the open and sort of furthered by this administration in many ways, from Catholics being focused on in the FBI to downplaying by the media of certain events that have happened, and they can't help feeling this is one more nail in the coffin, and a large visible one.
So if a holy day on the Islam calendar had fallen on March 31st, as did the holiest day on the Christian calendar, Easter, would they still have had Transgender Visibility Day, or would they have observed the day before or the day after? We often will do an observed day before or after the day that it actually falls on. In fact, we do that quite often with Veterans Day. It doesn't always fall on a Friday, and we do it with other days. So I'm just wondering, is Christianity getting, and for that matter, I mean, there are protests in the streets that are anti-Israel. And so is Judaism also getting the same treatment as some of these other religions that the president is being pressed upon by? Look, that Michigan vote mattered. I don't care what he and his people say. And yeah, some of it was about electric vehicles. But that angry Arab Muslim community over his treatment of the Israel-Hamas war is real, and he should wake up to that. And why does that matter? Because I don't think we are all being treated the same. I think he's flexing in one direction, trying to get that vote. And you know what? Who cares so much about Easter? We'll put up this flag. The Easter Bunny is not the symbol of Jesus. But I thought this, as we were talking about this, the children of the National Guard were prohibited from submitting religious Easter egg designs for the 2024 Celebrating National Guard Family art event at the White House this year. This is the New York Post reporting this. So what is that about, that the symbolism of the holiday, particularly, as you pointed out, Tammy, for military families? There was just a whole lot of mess going on. And it would be nice to be led by people in the White House who could kind of clean that up today on Easter Monday, maybe make some sense of that. And it didn't serve the transgender community either to be caught up in the storm of their indecision.
Right, and Morgan, so even if that rule has been in place for quite some time, when you contrast it, or when it's up against the landscape of Biden declaring this day is Transgender Day of Visibility, we're not changing it for observation. That was such a great point about that. How do you speak to the pragmatic way that this administration could have handled this differently?
Well, and I think Harris makes a really good point about where we are in terms of religious observance right now in this country. It's actually a pivotal moment for all of the Abrahamic faiths. It's the holy month of Ramadan right now.
Yes.
Still, it's Easter. We just finished Purim, and Judaism will be going into Passover soon as well. And I know people on the left watch this and think that we're all being overly sensitive about this. Let me tell you why it's not, because this is one of the fundamental founding principles of our country, to have this religious freedom, to have this religious faith. And whenever you go down a slippery slope of ignoring it, or doing as the Atlantic did and declaring the Catholic rosary to be a sign of radicalism or a sign of Christian nationalism, when you go down that slippery slope, where does it get you? It gets you in a place where you are with the Chinese Communist Party, where they have actually edited the Bible. The Bible that you buy in China is not the Bible that you get everywhere else in the world. It has been edited by the Chinese Communist Party. And in China, Xi Jinping took pictures of Jesus off the wall in churches and put a picture of himself up. So why are we as Americans so sensitive about this? Because it seems like, oh, this is silly. This is just the ladies on Fox News being, you know, overly dramatic. It's really not. It is a slippery slope. If we don't do everything we can to protect religious freedom around the world, and by the way, they never filled that position, to my knowledge, at the State Department that Mike Pompeo put in place to make sure that we were advocating for religious freedom around the world. When you don't fight for it here, it's a slippery slope to end up where you are in China.
And David, the whole point is arguably we are well down that slippery slope. There's no unfounded hysteria happening. In 2022, The Atlantic ran an article that deemed the Catholic Rosary a symbol of religious radicalism.
Right.
Again, we know that the FBI somehow sort of promoted the idea that Catholic faith was connected directly to violent extremists. After the Nashville shooting, somehow Christians were to blame for it. It is a very, very real persecution here, in part because the slow drip, the benign impact of the media is actually quite horrific, because that drip is what shatters rocks.
So I want to take kind of the 30,000-foot strategic view of what just played out. And I get it. I agree that this is part of that secularist movement of the liberal progressives, the left, and Biden's play. But if you look at the events that began really about last Thursday to where we are today, the proclamation of Transgender Day of Visibility, the celebration of Cesar Chavez Day, which was proclaimed in 2013 in a similar fashion, what you're seeing is a master class in gaslighting for the response. Think about it by the numbers. There are about 1.6 million Americans who self-identify as trans. However, 67% of 30 million people identify as Christian in America. And if you take from that the number of people who celebrate Easter, shall we say, more openly, it's about 37%. That's 122 million. So who are they playing to? They're actually playing this for their base, for the reaction, and I think we need to put context together. It's true that they've had this attack. These are the same people that go after kids, saying you can't put a religious symbol on an Easter egg in an art contest, but yet they will glorify the Virgin Mary being dipped in urine. It's not about art. It is about their attack to secularize, to demonize, to, again, take us apart as Americans and have us at each other's throats. And I think when we do that, we take away their power to overly influence people. And I think that's the context that helps us do that.
Well, obviously I agree with all of this, but for someone who is, I'm a gay woman, for the part of the audience that might not know this yet, what is problematic, and we also heard Caitlyn Jenner's response to this, is that it was obscene. You get tired of being somebody's fetish. You get tired of being the pawn to be used to divide. So I agree with David in this regard. This has nothing to do with transgenders. As a matter of fact, they're being used. They're being used to divide Americans. It's like if you walk into a bar and scream something about someone's mom. You're looking for a fight, and they're looking for a fight. They want you talking about this instead of the border, instead of the economy, instead of crime that is increasing. They want you to look at other Americans as the problem. Well, none of us are the problem. That's their goal. And I would suggest certainly that transgenders are probably looking at this thinking, we don't need this. This does not help us. This does not help us. We like Easter too. This is an unforced error. It's unnecessary. And of course, it's the combination of things that have happened. It's the environment. It's what we notice has occurred. But again, I would argue that it is a convenient dividing line when you've got Americans who are Christian versus perhaps Jews, versus gays and lesbians, versus transgenders. Enough of this. We have families, we have lives we need to live, no matter what our skin color, how we identify. We've got to be able to look to the future, and these individuals are looking for a fist fight in a bar. We can't give it to them. So I think we're united in that regard, to say the least.
Well, and I do think that a part of the conversation is, and I think much like the transgender community got caught up in the storm, so did Muslim families.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. He's flexing so he doesn't have to pick the Christians on that day. But that doesn't help their cause either, because what happens when they're not his fetish, as you say? I mean, that's even hard to say. It feels so wrong, because it is. We shouldn't be anybody's fetish, not black people, not Hispanic people. We should just be Americans.
What do you know? What a concept. Harris Faulkner.
All right, guys, up next. Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.